Okay, cool. All right, welcome everybody. It is February 18th, 2022. We are joined by our good steward, Anthony. And we're going to get right into the updates.
Thanks,
Love
Al.
having you here.
All right.
All right. I remember to turn my sound on, or share sound, so can you actually hear that little music?
Yes, I can. I can hear the
Nice.
music clip.
That's been on there ever since I started doing this.
It's the first time I've heard it.
I forget to turn on the share sound because I have something else we're gonna. I had a little fun with in creating. So, are you ready? This is
Wow.
just super duper exciting. And yeah, I think that might have been me about 50 years ago.
I didn't think you were 50 yet, Al.
And then some. So,
Come on, let's check it out.
so here we go. I found a little Star Wars thing.
I love
check it
Star
out.
Wars.
Right? Let's go check it out. So I am going to actually.
You're having way too much fun.
Oh, wait, I am. Where'd it go? There. I'm going to escape that. We're going to get over to here. And we are now in a live sandbox environment of what a, what do we call a draft prototype of a screen dashboard for somebody like True Payroll. So it has parts that would, in this case, like here, and I'm so excited I can't even talk straight. This is obviously for employer, right? These parts. So for somebody like me, this stuff probably won't be there because I'll have to pick a company in order to facilitate that. But if I was to, it's all demo information. These things aren't clickable actually just yet. So what I did want to show is what does it take to actually run a payroll in this system?
Mm-hmm.
So you click on, excuse me, the create your paychecks, and you then have the choice of either just going right in, or if you need to check history, you can actually look at the recently issued checks, and that list will continue to populate, and the speed at which it displays this stuff is just crazy fast. So let's go back to running a payroll. We're going to click create checks. Pretty straightforward. Looks very much what we're used to. Now, these things are placeholders, and if there isn't a 401k to worry about, that column wouldn't show up. So you have the ability to display or not display columns as they may or may not fit for your enterprise, whatever that is. So if there's no medical insurance, dental insurance, those things just won't be here. I think it's actually really cool, the design here, where you can put different memos in for different people if you want. And that actually comes across a lot. I don't know, and I'll have to make a suggestion that we have a blanket. I'm going to shut these doors. One memo that would go to everybody. So if you wanted a message to go across everybody at one time. But in this case, the sample data is all salaried people. And so we don't have any entry in this kind of this regular column. I can tell you one of the differences that's coming or is already built, because I know it, is in the current platform, you have to designate, if somebody's hourly, you've got to designate what's called regular. That's going away. You don't have to have this, because we have just a ton of customers that create individualized hourly rates. And this regular thing just kind of sits there as this anchor that ends up not getting used. So it's kind of pointless to have that if you're not going to use it. Mm-hmm. So that this name is likely going to be a little bit different, and it'll be specific to each employer's setup, which is nice. And you won't be anchored into this idea of a regular. You just label it whatever you want to label it. So I know that's coming. So let's see. I didn't actually check to see. Okay, so none of that's clickable at the moment, but we can, put in if they're getting 8 hours vacation pay. This is a very interesting adaptation. rather than, so these are showing 0 at the moment because no calculation has been made at this point. But if you wanted to, if you knew what your override that you wanted, so if you could enter in the zeros there, and it, in theory, and I have to actually double check this, it will this is the override column. So we probably would ask for some verbiage up here in parentheses, override calculation, and you'd put in, so if you wanted it to be $5,000 this time, you could put it in, and you wanted that to be 250, it will override whatever the calculation would be. That is what those are for. I'm going to just go ahead and hit create. Oh, one of the other things, right? You can toggle right in between. So you can actually work on both at the same time, which is really nice. The drop downs aren't working, but the different styles of check payments you might be making. So is it a regular payroll? Is it a bonus payroll? Is it a commission payroll? Is, because those methods work a little bit differently.
Okay.
And the drop down will give you your various pay periods when that's turned on and functioning. So you can actually select the pay period that you want to work in. These will default to your preference settings for however you've set up your company.
Makes
And
sense.
this is a really interesting one. So this was a suggestion that I had requested. In the current platform, you pick a check printing style, whether it's pre-printed check stock that you got from a bank or some online thing, or blank, like we use here is all blank security check paper. Or you just want it on blank paper because you're doing a stub and it's just for record keeping for an employee. You can modify that on the fly as you're going through and change it without having to go into your preferences. So it's going to pull your default, but you're able to actually on the fly change it from pre-printed stock to like blank paper or just paper stubs. So that's really, really nice that features here, because I can tell you from operational experience, helping people go through this process, and they're changing. So somebody has pre-printed stock, they're doing their own printing, but then they go on vacation, they need us to do it for them. Well, we don't have their pre-printed stock, so we've got to use blank paper, and we can complete all that for them. But then we go into the settings, we have to change the settings and do what we need to do, go back and then redo the settings so that when they go back to log in, it's what they want. Here, it allows us to do it on the fly, and just it just pre-populates based on your default. This, I don't know. Yeah, it is. So you can sort and get to a single employee if you really wanted to. So I could uncheck this. There are 100 employees represented here. So if I wanted to see all the Quittons, I just start typing and it's going to filter out everybody other than that name. So either first or last name. So for larger companies, this is a really cool, slick feature, and you can see how fast that's happening.
That's great. Yeah, very impressive.
So if we slide that over a little bit, it's just giving you the last check date that they got. And again, these columns, so that you may have more or less columns depending on your individual company setup. Then we create all right, there was nobody selected. So I'm going to go back to that because I unchecked them all. So now if we create them all, 100 checks, there it is, it's done. So the speed is really, really nice. One of the things I like about this design functionality too is it's telling me how many I have, so I can either approve them all or I can approve them one at a time.
Right.
Which is not a current feature available in what we have. So this would go from approve to approved, and it would change colors.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's already gone. It's off the list. It's 99. So this is the unapproved checks. So if I click that again, it puts it through, and it's going to change that to 98. So let's just say I wanted to approve. I got my chance. I've looked over, no major issues. I'm going to click approve. The other 98 are done. Bada bing. There's the 100 now ready for printing. So I click the print. It's going to generate a PDF based on our settings. And you saw there, okay, it tried to send the job right to the printer. That's as easy as it gets. The feature that's in here that doesn't exist in many systems is you'll be able to actually upload a digitized signature and it'll place it on there for you should you desire to have that feature, which is very cool. So when you hit print, boom, merges, all done, comes out, signature on it. All right, what's also cool. So I go through and I look, I scan my list. Ah, nuts. Karen's check, something's wrong. So I'm going to click on that and every blue field is editable at any given time. At any given time. So if you need to put the memo in there, you can hit the little thing. If you need to change this now, this is not going to actually update it, but let's say I meant her check to be a 6,000. Well, you're going to have to then it'll prompt you to fix the rest of this because now obviously this doesn't work. So what else needs to change in order to generate $6,000 of net pay? So the reverse calculation will start to happen as you go through that process.
Right, okay.
Which is super slick.
Yes.
It's really, really awesome. And obviously you can tell the status is an approved check. And we're going to look at something else so you can toggle on and off that direct deposit. Right now it's got the split happening there. And you can have as many splits as you want. So currently you're limited to 2. Some of our competitors, their offerings are 3 to 4. This is unlimited. If you want a quarter to go into each account, over 100 accounts, knock your socks off. But so you could in theory do that. So then we can save it and still see it, or we save and close and take us back to our list. So as you can see, it's already updated this to 6,000. And again, it's going to go through its tax. The tax calculation side is not yet integrated into the sandbox environment that we're looking at. So this is a sandbox environment. So if I probably should have said that right out of the gate, this is not the live, but it's operating with its sample information and test data inside of it. And then we hit continue. And in this case, I believe what's going to happen is anybody that's on direct deposit, this field will not persist. It will be, and you won't be able to enter anything into that for anybody on direct deposits because you wouldn't want a check number associated with a direct deposit. So I believe that's going to be just for those with checks. So then we would save that. That's the process that, as I understand it, for direct deposits. When it is, if we start over, we'll click here, and we create these, then we approve them. If it was physical checks as opposed to direct deposit, this flow changes so that once we approve this, the next screen, instead of going to print then check numbers, it'll go check numbers then print. So it'll just reverse that a little bit. So anybody that has a check, you can't print it without having a number associated with it. Otherwise, they can't cash it at the bank.
Right.
Right.
Makes
so
sense.
It's just a slight process flow change, depending on whether there's a physical check that needs to be printed or if it's just all direct deposits.
Right.
I just wanted to kind of show that. Any questions on that, Anthony, before I move beyond it?
Not really. You said that the tax rates and stuff like that hadn't been incorporated into this yet. And so
Into
when
the
you
sandbox,
made that,
right.
into the sandbox. So where you made that change to the net pay for that person to $6,000, then you would play with the gross pay in order to get the net to work out. That's what how you would do that, right?
This is going to do a reverse. calculation.
It will
So
do
you'll
it
just have to-
automatically is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is it will, so
Oh,
you
yeah.
can put in the net you want. If you say, hey, I promised Sally or whatever, John Doe, 6,000, then yeah, okay, I'm gonna give you, it'll automatically figure out the gross. Oh, that's cool. That's a cool
Yep.
feature.
So it'll do the reverse calculation on it.
Right.
And so I know I have a request to have, as I've now that I've seen this, I like to see the rate for a salary person as it's calculated, right? So, so the current salary is $87,000 a year
Right,
with a base of 40 hours a week.
right.
So if I change this, so it's a little bit, this can be a little bit misleading, I think, just based on, so there's a little bit of work to do on how to make that a little bit more clear. I think so on 87,000, we're going to do the math right here.
Yeah, you got
Live.
25,000 of deductions available. Because 72, right? Oh, no, it's
So
17.
80
No, it's not 20, it's 15,000.
So it's 4182 an hour is what this person would be getting for a 40-hour
Right.
week. So times 40. Oops, what did I say that was? 87 divided by 2080, 4182. Okay, times 40. Now, what do we got going on here? Well, it's test data, so it's not actually calculating. So
Oh, okay, so it's probably,
it actually is, here is correct. That number is not correct. That number for the first check says 1672.80, less the 4769 and 1116 and the 923. Minus $2 minus 40. Close. Anyway, yeah, so it's sample data. It's not all wired up. We're getting to see what in the next few weeks, we're going to see some of this other stuff actually get turned on and activated. So
right, that's critical. Yeah.
I'm just super excited to see how it's actually working. Then you can turn
Yeah,
on
it's
on
a
and off
nice
that,
look.
right?
Yeah, it has a nice look and feel to it so far.
Right?
Yeah,
And so this is an unapproved check. So at this point, I can click to approve, or I can save it and take myself back to the list. If I just approve that one, we should be back down to the probably 90. Oh, now it's approved. Now oops. Okay, so we can close those out. Yeah, now I'm back down to the 99.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so, all right, just all that sample stuff. Or if we want to delete them all, then they'll all be gone. Whee, there they go, out of the database, as if they never happened. So we could just start over. Pretty simple, straightforward processes.
Right.
Visually, it's nice and clean. It's easy to get around to all of these different things.
Right.
What do you think?
I like the look and feel of it so far. Yeah, it looks very nice.
Cool.
Once you get a few
So-
things sorted out, which I know you're working on diligently.
Yeah, we will. Let's see, I wanted to take a quick look at how, so this is more for a payroll company than it is for the employer. This is where
Right.
we would be able to see all of the different
Right.
clients that we're working on in the different, whether they're active or inactive.
Right.
This is, I can't even begin to tell you how immensely helpful this is from my perspective to have all that. And then we have an actual archive status. And I asked for that because there are some that just can't ever come back to life because they're a closed business, defunct, totally gone. And so there really are 3 statuses of clients,
Right.
you know, current, former, and definitely gone forever.
Right.
And that's what That's what that one would be. Adding a company. So this is essentially the same, whether it would be on my end or your end, how to set up
Mhm.
your profile in this system. So this is not wired up entirely. So if you put in a name here, what this is supposed to do, I've seen it in the actual production environment. In the sandbox, it's not doing it, but in the production environment, once you enter this, that goes green. So it lets you know that you're done. And so that would be True Payroll LLC, and we'll just put in a number, and so this is a drop down and we'll say, are you an S Corp, LLC?
Mhm.
If you're a corporation, what type? Are you an S or a C corporation? What's your NAICS code? And that's actually going to, I think to launch, I think that's just going to be typed in. It's not going to be, I know at some point it'll be integrated with the actual list. So you can just start typing out either your kind of category. So whether you're a manufacturer or real estate office, you can put it in by there.
Yeah, right.
And that's actually, there's a feature request in that makes this, and it's a mandatory item, and it's for a future feature request. That's going to be so super cool. I'm not even going to go into what that is.
Mhm.
So that's all pretty self-explanatory there, right? You can have as many different we have the 3 different locations. So there are additional work locations that will also be, so there'll be one more in case you have multiple offices. And the difference here is, where is the company actually physically located? Where do you want your mail to go to, if we had any? And then what is your filing address? And then there will be a 4th one that says a work location. So if we're in Florida and you've got somebody in Georgia, you need to have a work location in Georgia so that all the taxes do get calculated correctly. Bank
Oh, I
accounts.
see. Okay.
Yeah, did that make sense up here in the locations?
Yeah, the question about the filing address, is that like state filing, federal filing? But is
Yeah.
it based on, so an address, so you want to put a physical address in so that determines which state you fall into? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
That's your headquarters address.
Okay,
So the
and that's going to be different than headquarters, because you've got headquarters and
Doesn't have to
filing
be.
address.
That might all be the same. They could all
Right,
be
okay.
the same. It's just giving the flexibility, because we have some folks that, they use their home. Their headquarters is the physical location.
Right,
The mailing and filing address are a home, because they don't want that documentation, that paperwork to actually show up at where everybody can see it.
right.
somebody could
That's why they have a different mailing
Accidentally
address.
open it, right?
Yeah. No, understand.
Yep.
But to employees, if your company is domiciled, say in Florida, but you have an
Yep.
employee who works in Georgia, their taxes have to be calculated on Georgia or Florida rate. I assume it's in Georgia where they
Georgia.
are physically present.
Correct.
Okay,
So it goes to any of the income taxes, local taxes, and the unemployment taxes, because that's where they're going to file their claim for
Right.
unemployment. Should that ever be the
right.
need.
So it's got to match the location. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Makes sense. Yeah, okay.
And I know one of the checks and balances, when an employee is added with a address that's out of the corporate tax home, it will prompt for a work location. Because it knows, the system knows at that point, there is a separate tax requirement, and we need to backfill that in and make sure we have everything necessary in order to get the calculations right.
Right, gotcha.
So here's a really cool feature. You can have one or multiple accounts as to where you want your stuff coming out of. I can't tell you how many times I've had customers ask, well, I'd like my employee payments to come out of one account. I'd like to be able to move my tax dollars somewhere else. and have it paid out of that account. I don't have that flexibility right now, and I don't know a lot of systems that do. So you now have the ability to put in where you want employees paid out of, where you want contractors to be paid out of, if that's separate, where you want your fee to be withdrawn from. So the fee to your provider, in this case, True Payroll, and then the tax payments themselves. So for me, that's so super cool. They can be all the same or they can be all different.
Cool.
Yep. Right. And so,
Yep.
not sure what this is really for exactly. I know what the other system wants this for. And this may go away right here. Not sure exactly yet. Okay, so how do you have to file your federal taxes? There you go. There's the options. What kind of filer are you? I know for True Payroll, we pretty much default everybody to that filing setting. It's the most conservative. And because we don't do any impounding, and wholesale payroll is not going to enable me to do that either, it means that our customers' tax dollars stay in their bank until it's time to get paid. And the reason I select semi-weekly is for cash flow reasons. So I default all of my customers to when you run your payroll, your tax dollars are paid to the IRS no later than 5 days after that payroll date. And it is the most conservative approach unless you have a payroll of $100,000 in a week. If you reach that level, then you may have to have 2-day, next day payment. So as the payroll grows and gets large, then there is one additional filing requirement. But the target market for this product right now isn't that large of an employer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, understand.
And then you can pick what date that this has changed. So there are a number of customers that do have quarterly because they run very minimal payroll. And if they got a notice that said, nope, you got to go to monthly, when is that effective? And the system will then change it as of that effective date.
What are the criteria for the different filing?
Yeah, great question. So quarterly is less than $2,500 of tax due in a quarter. So if you have only $1,000 in a quarter due, you're a quarterly file.
Right.
When you hit
Okay.
2,500 or more in a month, or rather in a quarter, then you'll be designated as a monthly filer. And then I believe, Anthony, it's $5,000. I don't remember off the top of my head. That's when you become a weekly. So if you owe more than 5,000, I think it is, in a month, then you have to go to
Right.
semi-weekly.
Right.
It's just basically
Which is-
breaking down the chunks, right? So that you
Yep.
don't accumulate this big bill.
Correct. Yep.
And then we go to the state tax info. As you can see, that's not tied into to the sandbox demo here, but that would be a list of all the different states that you'd have to have information from and the details of that, including income tax and workers' comp. Unemployment.
Mhm.
And then you can have as many pay schedules as you so choose, like you can now. You just name it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. When's the next pay date? When's that period end? And you've now got a new pay schedule that you can put your employees on. And you can set one as a default. So if you only have one, that's the default. So I'm just going to delete that for the moment.
Mhm.
What I think is, let's see, work schedule definition. So I like this a lot. So I can go part-time salaried. And that person's going to work 20 hours a week for, let's see, let's go 18 instead. So 18 hours a week, Total hours per day, 6. So I know they're going to work, looks like 3 days.
3 days, 6 hours. Yeah. Mhm.
Right? So anytime I pick part-time salaried, that's predefined for that employee. So it'll automatically know I don't have to go through and add that every time. So if I know I have a certain set of, and case in point, we have a customer that's got kids that make phone calls. Those kids work 6 hours a week. That's what they're supposed to be doing. So in theory, they would be able to pick that. It's 2 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours per day. That's the limit, that they're a 1 2-hour shift. And then they have to have 3 of those in the week.
Hmm.
You can predefine that at their hourly rate and just boop, plug it in, and you could automate it if you wanted to. And then, of course, you're going to review it and you're going to submit it. One of the things that you'll, when we go back here, you can put your company logo if you have one.
Mhm.
So
Sure.
that's just kind of fun.
Yep.
So that's the setup process. So it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let's see, we'll take a quick look. I'm running over time. Yeah, it's not tied in yet. Right now, the nomenclature used is workers, but it stands for, it's basically employees, contractors, and vendors. So it's all where all the people go. And then adding what's called an engagement. So for what that means is you've hired somebody and now you want to actually affiliate them with getting paid. So you can set them up, and then without actually adding them for payment, and you add the engagement to activate them essentially.
Mhm.
I was playing around with this, and where did I get to it? Maybe it was the company. You click on this. Yeah. So if I click on the company, then it will tell me how many active engagements there are, meaning how many active people between contractors and employees there are. And one of the things that I know is coming, and oh yeah, look at that. I can deactivate them or archive them right there. Let's see if I edit that. It did take me there. I want to go to the bank account really quick. So when we add bank accounts, this is not tied in yet, but I know this is how it's going to work. So as soon as you start typing in your routing number, it's going to populate a list of financial institutions that match that routing number, so you don't ever have a data entry mistake. You can't have an invalid routing number, because that happens.
Yeah. Right. You're sending your money into cyberspace.
Yeah, and somebody transposes it or whatnot. And in some cases, you may need to have, so Bank of America is a good example. Routing numbers will be specific to areas as well. So if the routing number exists, and I can tell you one specific one, it's the same routing number for Virginia and New York, but if you don't select the right region within that routing number's overall area, they may not find it. They may go to Virginia when it's supposed to go to New York, and New York can't see what happened in Virginia and vice versa. It's crazy. It sounds stupid, but it's a real thing. So you can see that list, pick the New York or the Virginia one, and you're off and running.
Yeah.
That was a critical component of a request that I had made, and I was really happy to see that they were able to incorporate it.
That's good.
Because I just want to eliminate that the issue of
That's a terrible mistake.
error entry.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have the ability today to see. Yeah, right. There's nobody here. So right. But in the weeks to come, we're going to actually be able to see employee setups and stuff like that. I've seen some of those screenshots. It's really, really coming kind of cool. We welcome any suggestions for layouts, and this is just going to be right now it's just a representation of how much payroll has been run over the last 6 months, so you can kind of get a glance as how's my cycle coming along.
Yeah.
So any other extra widgets that or dashboard items, any kind of controls that you shortcuts, if you will, instead of going over here, all right, I just need to add somebody. So, and it's not going to pull anybody, and it's not pulling anybody yet because that's not connected.
Right.
But anything that you think, Anthony, or anybody that would watch this, how would you like to see this? I'm really thrilled about this part too. So I know that I can send customer-wide notifications to either the employees or the employers that are in my book of business.
Oh, that's
So
good.
if I needed to, like, an alert for, hey, it's a bank holidays coming up, boom. Instead of an email going out, there's an in-system alert that everyone
Yeah.
can see, because emails aren't always delivered and or open.
Right.
So that I was thrilled to see that we had that notification system.
Do people, so you're saying emails, and what about like text messages? Can you send text messages to people who are comfortable receiving text messages or other kind of messages? Would that be, if, because you just mentioned that emails are not always delivered. So I'm thinking somebody who's worried about missing a message and they're the payroll manager for the company might want to get it on a text message to their company phone or whatever. Just saying out loud. I don't know if that's possible, but
it's entirely possible. Whether or not yeah, it's recorded now. So we can pass that one along to the development team and say, hey, what about this?
yeah, because you can't text never go to a spam folder, right? Like emails do. So it's harder to miss a text message than it is,
Yeah, and if somebody's essentially opted in to receive them,
Yeah.
there should be no issue at that point.
Yeah.
I would think on a legal side of things for saying, hey, you're spamming, blah, blah, blah. There'd be a thumbs up. Please send it to me. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be an option. I mean,
I'm not sure exactly what that search does. Okay, so it's not working just yet, but okay. I'm not sure what we're searching. So I kind of need to ask myself what that's for. Sounds kind of interesting. Let's see.
But if it's up at the top of the main screen, would it be for your whole system? So if you're looking for a person or an amount, or
didn't know it was even up there until I just happened to see it just now. So that's I have to follow up and ask what this is going to do for everybody.
Yeah.
And then of course you have your profile stuff too. Let's see, is this working? Yep. So as what your role, so your name, role, you can put your picture in there, and or I'll not click that. I don't know what that is for. So okay, and just some of those, there's obviously that's some placeholder text. So I'm not sure exactly what's going to go in here. And banking, I think. Okay. That part isn't quite wired up for the demo yet. So that's
okay. That was very good.
Let's see, and preferences. Oh, that just goes to these. Okay, so either details or preferences. Cool. Yeah. And that was the support and help. Cool. And let's click on settings just to see. So nothing quite ready for that. I know there's nothing quite ready for taxes and forms yet. Yep, we looked at that. So yeah, it's super exciting to see. To have the sandbox ready lets us know how close we really are. It's really cool to finally see some really awesome progress. That's yeah. Oh, I can't wait.
Exciting for you. Very exciting.
It's pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions on what you've seen so far? With that,
nothing else today. Will you be demonstrating more next week? Likely.
Let's hope so. I hope they can wire up some more stuff.
Okay.
We'll find out probably next Friday morning.
Stay tuned, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to head back to this really quick and start the show again from here. And let's see, I did have two more things. Wanted to remind everybody, the states are really behind on getting these out. If you're in the state of Florida, we took a proactive approach and we searched out as an active customer. We went and found your rate at the Florida Department of Revenue site. So please send us that anyway. even though I know we're up to date for you already, we do like to have these things on file. Because they do get reassigned every year. There may be no change, but it is reassigned. All right. And I have one other really fun, cool update. True Payroll has embarked on a mission to become and maintain an ecological sustainability certification so that we are contributing towards the ecology of the community, of the state, country, so forth and so on. And we acquired this on last Friday. So we've gone through the process, and now there are large companies that still aren't able to do this. So we're on the cutting edge of sustainability, and definitely encourage everyone to take a look at it and see whether or not it's something that you could or would want to do. And it's just a way to make a difference. And it's also,
Interesting.
so what's interesting is about, let's see, it not only does it go with things like energy savings, part of what we do is a community program for outreach, helping with maybe even planting trees or helping create gardens somewhere. It's just things that you can do as a corporate entity, a business entity, to provide back. And additionally, it goes to the sustainability of the health of your employees too, of your staff. So that's actually another interesting component of it. So because when I think about sustainability, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's all the tree huggers. Well, only in part. And nothing wrong with hugging trees. Yeah, we all need them. So there's just more to it. And so I learned about it maybe a year ago, and has embarked on the journey of understanding it. And we're now there. And because we've gone through it, Wholesale Payroll and its parent company are going through that as well. So they're going to become certified sustainable. And there's a very interesting connection that I hope they're able to make in the coming weeks. So if that happens, you'll see a more public splash. So that's kind of cool. But we're proud to be part of the Edenart Group and have achieved their sustainability certification. Other than that, I am done, and I've gone way longer than normal. Just a lot of development this week. So
Yeah,
it's really
exciting. Yeah, it's
And
exciting.
hey, thanks for coming to the coffee shop yesterday. We actually got to meet in person. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. And then the big difference, I didn't quite recognize you because you weren't wearing glasses. So
Right? No glasses.
no glasses. So on all these sessions, you're always wearing glasses. So I thought, okay, let's do slightly different look, but I found you, no problem. That was great.
And
Great
a little
to meet
bit
you in
taller
person.
than you thought.
Exactly. Sitting down makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm only about 6'5".
Yeah, and I'm only 6'2", depending on which foot.
Right. Yeah. If I got my
Oh.
boots on, I might be 6'5.5".
Yeah, right.
Any
Okay,
other
well,
questions?
No other questions. Edenarc, are they federal or state, or what is
So
their?
Edenart is David Goodman is his name, and I can certainly connect you with him if you'd like. He is near Daytona. So he's here in Florida, but he can certify anybody in the nation. So it doesn't matter where you're at.
Okay.
And so the certification process can be expensive depending on the size of your organization. And David approaches it as economically for people as possible. There's a variety of different organizations that can do the certification. One that I found, the minimum fee to be part of their group was $25,000. I'm going, what small
Wow.
business can afford that?
Yeah.
So I can understand why larger organizations may struggle, because part of what you have to do to have that certification is you're going to commit to educating, sharing it, and hopefully getting some people to join on the bandwagon with you. And so True Payroll will hopefully have some of its customers coming on board, because there's you have one level of compliance, as I'll call it, where you as a company will take proactive steps in order for the energy savings and the community outreach and those things.
Right.
And then there's another level where you are becoming an ambassador of sorts,
Right.
and you need to have your upline and your downline chains, supply chains and customers adopting this at some level at some point. And that helps to, that keeps your compliance going. It shows that you're actively trying to improve your community and
Right.
your environment. So,
Oh,
yeah.
very interesting. Yeah, interesting.
neat.
Thanks for sharing that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
I think we might be the only payroll company in the world right now that is doing it.
Yeah.
Or has
yeah.
I haven't looked, but so I'm going to make that unverified claim right now.
Okay. Right.
We
Right.
might be
Right.
the only ISO 14001 certified payroll company.
Right. Right. Well, that's a cool
That's my
little
story.
feather
I'm
in,
sticking with it.
feather in your cap, right? That
It is.
expression.
So I like badges. So this can now be a badge right here that we get to
Yeah. Cool.
have.
I'm impressed. That's great.
Yeah. So
All
thanks.
right. No more questions for me. I'll say adios and we'll see you next week.
All right, cool. And great segue. So we'll be back next week live, and hopefully we've got some more sandbox updates. That'd be super, super cool. Ask your questions, send them in, particularly with what we just saw today. If you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see that may not have been there, let's see what can happen. And
All
with
right.
that, if you want to register for this next week, it's truepayroll.com/launch. All right, Anthony, thanks so much. You're awesome. We appreciate you very, very much.
All right, Al. Always great to see you and always learning. So thank you as well. Okay.
All right,
Talk
awesome.
again soon. Yeah. Bye-bye.
We'll see you. All right, bye-bye. I thought I clicked the button, and ciao, everybody.